Lillian Voss leaned back in her favorite armchair, the silence of her living room. Now truly her own again, a heavy blanket of peace. Diana and her venomous presence were gone, and Michael, chastened and remorseful, was slowly rebuilding their relationship. The victory had been sweet, but exhausting. Legal documents confirming the voided property transfers sat neatly on her mahogany desk. Everything was back in her name. The legal war was over. Or so she thought. It was a crisp morning in late January. Michael, who had officially started managing the property accounts, walked into the kitchen, his brow furrowed in a way that immediately reminded Lillian of the anxious boy he once was. "Mom, look at this," he said, handing her a thick, official-looking envelope. The return address was unfamiliar. Ethelred Property Acquisitions, LLC. Lillian slid her glasses on. Inside was a formal notice concerning the oldest of her 3 rental properties, the one she'd bought with the first major profits from her pie business, the one she affectionately called the Pioneer. The notice wasn't a lawsuit, but something far more insidious, a notice of intent to foreclose on a tax lien. "What is this nonsense?" Lillian demanded, her calm facade cracking. "We pay the property taxes every year, on time. I've never missed a payment." Michael's face was pale. "That's the problem, Mom. We haven't. Or rather, they didn't. When Diana was controlling the accounts, she was always late with the property taxes on the Pioneer. It looks like the payment due last July was late, and she only paid the penalty, not the actual tax, in November. Then, she deliberately missed the second half payment entirely in December, right before the contracts were voided." He laid out the financial records. Diana hadn't just neglected the account. She had strategically created a liability. She'd used the property's value to secure personal loans and then left a ticking financial time bomb behind, knowing a significant tax delinquency would automatically put the property up for auction for the cost of the unpaid taxes plus interest and fees. The total debt is only $15,000, but according to this notice, Ethelred Property Acquisitions bought the tax lien from the county. "They've been watching," Michael explained, pointing to a name at the bottom of the letterhead, Silas Vance, Director of Acquisitions. "They are demanding immediate payment of the full amount, including their legal and administrative fees, or they will initiate foreclosure in 30 days. Lillian's hands trembled. This was not Diana's revenge. This was professional, calculated opportunism. Diana had merely left the door open. Silas Vance was the predator who walked through it. The new adversary. Lillian called Elias, her lawyer, immediately. Ethelred Property Acquisitions, LLC, and a director named Silas Vance. Elias mused. "Ah, Lillian, you've stepped into a new arena. Vance is known in Portland real estate circles. He's young, brilliant, and utterly ruthless. He makes his money by identifying small-time property owners, often elderly, or those involved in messy family situations, who have accrued tax liens, buying the liens cheaply, and then foreclosing fast. He thrives on legal technicalities and time limits." Elias advised her to pay the $15,000 immediately, but Lillian's pride and her deeply ingrained sense of justice flared. "Why should I pay this arrogant shark a penny of his legal and administrative fees when he's just trying to steal what Diana set up for him? I want to know how he knew about the Pioneers so fast." Lillian realized she was now fighting 2 battles, the financial one against Vance and the intelligence battle against Diana. She was right to be suspicious. A week later, Michael's new bookkeeper, a trusted older friend of Lillian's, found an email on the Pioneer's old property management account, a tip-off sent anonymously to Vance's corporate email address a week before the nullification. The sender was an IP traced to a beauty salon chain office, Susan Hensley's corporate headquarters. Diana had been cut off by her mother Susan after the public humiliation of the divorce and lawsuit. But Susan hadn't just abandoned her, she had repurposed her. Susan, leveraging her own network of high-powered corporate associates, had introduced Diana to Silas Vance. Susan had offered Vance the tax lien tip as a favor, positioning Diana as a consultant with intimate knowledge of Lillian's vulnerable assets. Diana was now selling the family secrets she had learned during her brief time as Michael's wife. The race against the clock. Lillian and Michael knew they needed to fight Vance with more than just a quick payment. A quick payment would only signal weakness, encouraging him to search for other liens or zoning issues he could exploit. He wants the Pioneer because it's in the perfect location for a luxury apartment conversion, Michael realized, poring over city planning documents. It's not about the $15,000. It's about controlling that block. Lillian formulated a plan that combined her old-school community strength with Michael's new legal savvy. Phase 1. The distraction. Lillian used a contact from her early pie-selling days, a seasoned investigative journalist for a local business column, to leak a soft story. The story focused on Silas Vance's aggressive, almost predatory, business model, highlighting how he targets local Portland families with tax lien schemes. This put Vance on the defensive, forcing him to spend time managing his PR instead of focusing solely on the foreclosure deadline. Phase 2. The inspection gambit. Knowing that Vance was focused on the quick foreclosure, Michael, with Elias's guidance, scheduled 3 immediate, highly technical inspections on the Pioneer, a mandatory lead abatement inspection, a historical society review. Lillian claimed the house had potential historical value, and a mandatory foundation assessment. Each inspection was designed to require access by Vance's agents or lawyers, forcing them to jump through bureaucratic hoops and slowing the foreclosure clock. Phase 3. The community mobilization. This was Lillian's masterstroke. The Pioneer had long-term tenants, a young family, and an elderly couple. Lillian gathered them, explained the situation honestly, and asked for their help. She didn't want to just save the house. She wanted to save their homes. The tenants immediately agreed to publicly support Lillian. Lillian then called the Portland Neighborhood Association, explaining that Ethelred Property Acquisitions planned to flip the house into a luxury, short-term rental building, which violated the community's desired long-term housing stability. The showdown. The final confrontation occurred 5 days before the foreclosure deadline, not in a courtroom, but in a tense meeting at Elias's office. Silas Vance, impeccably dressed and radiating cold confidence, sat opposite Lillian and Michael. "Mrs. Voss," Vance began, a smirk playing on his lips. "This is a simple business transaction. Pay the $15,000 plus my company's fees of $8,000 for the acquisition and legal work, and the lien is released. Or, in 5 days, I will own the property for $23,000 and you will own nothing." Lillian placed a small, simple checkbook on the table. "Mr. Vance, I've worked 47 years to build my legacy," she said, her voice steady and powerful. "I negotiate with financial bullies, and I don't reward those who collaborate with thieves." She then slid a thick binder across the table. It contained photos of the tenants, letters from the Neighborhood Association, and a copy of the new local business column exposing his predatory practices. Most damningly, it included Michael's evidence of the email tip-off from Susan's office. "I can pay the $15,000 tax debt right now," Lillian stated. "But if I pay your $8,000 in fees, I legitimize your theft. If I don't, you get the property and the community loses. So, here is my counteroffer." She paused, locking eyes with the young developer. "I have already secured a court order, based on the evidence of fraudulent intent established in my divorce case, that allows me to pay the $15,000 directly to the county registrar, thus canceling the lien. Furthermore, the mayor's office, alerted by the Neighborhood Association, is now reviewing your company's aggressive portfolio for potential violations of fair housing and business practices." She leaned forward. "You will walk away from the Pioneer, or Michael and Elias will initiate an immediate lawsuit against Ethelred for tortious interference, naming Diana and Susan as co-conspirators. This would publicly link your clean acquisition firm to a highly publicized family fraud case." Vance's composure shattered. He had been outmaneuvered not by legal brilliance alone, but by a combination of community influence and strategic leaks that threatened his entire business model. Lillian stood, check in hand. "Choose, Mr. Vance. You lose $8,000 and save your reputation, or you lose millions fighting a scandal that will redefine you as the property tax siren." Vance looked from Michael's steely gaze to Lillian's calm, victorious smile. He nodded curtly. Fine, Mrs. Voss. We'll withdraw our claim and absorb the loss. Lillian wrote a check for $15,000 payable to the county tax collector. She did not look back as she and Michael walked out, leaving Silas Vance to digest the reality. You don't mess with the legacy of Lillian Voss. As they drove away, Michael turned to his mother. We won, Mom. But how did you know to hold back the money and confront him like that? Lillian smiled, a hint of the pie seller's old cunning in her eyes. Because, son, the only thing more dangerous than a man blinded by greed is a woman who has nothing left to lose. And I still had the community I built with those first pies. The fight had been harder, the opponent cleaner, but the outcome was the same. Lillian Voss had saved her legacy, solidified her partnership with her redeemed son, and ensured that her family would truly matter.